Thank you, Parent Circle, for inviting me for this great opportunity and giving me this great opportunity so that I can speak to all of you, parents, as well as users. So, my name is Dr. Debarati Halder, as already you are knowing about my designation. So today I'm going to discuss about children, especially those children who use internet and their parents, and certain types of crimes that can happen against them, and as well as that can also impact upon their lives, and it can also create some kinds of effect on the parents also. And what are the availability of laws, especially which can be used to protect the children and to prevent these kinds of crimes. So let me first begin with some of the very common types of crimes against children that can happen online, and which are recognized as offenses against children. The very first provision that I'm going to take up is Information Technology Act 2000, which is amended in 2008, and section 67B of this particular provision speaks about creating, disseminating, or publishing, or sponsoring to create, etc., of pornographic contents using children. Now, this is a little bit bigger provision as such, and it also has got very heavy punishment. Along with this, we generally also use POCSO Act, because since the POCSO Act has been created and it has been implemented, or it is being implemented by many states, we can also see that there are several provisions, especially sections like 13, 14 are there. So these sections are also being used to address cyber pornography. And along with this, like, these are the very well known, recognized offenses that are generally taken care by the police. Other than this, you can also see that some common traits are there, like cyberbullying is there, and trolling is there. So most commonly children do fall victims of cyberbullying. Not only that, I have also seen that cyber stalking, especially mature teens, young girls, boys also, they are also the victims of cyber stalking. Very interestingly, section 354D of the IPC, Indian Penal Code, it speaks about cyber stalking for women and girls. And for general victims of cyber stalking, again, we have to rely on POCSO Act, because IT Act does not have any focus, provision or law for cyber stalking. But if we see POCSO Act, we generally see the way stalking has been done. So section 11 and 12, they actually address harassment for children, especially these are sexual harassment for children. So on the course of harassment, definitely the police can book the offenses. So yes, thank you so much for having me on this platform. Now again, coming to another type of, it's a very much trending offense, you can say. This is revenge porn. We have certain laws, but these are not focused for tackling revenge porn. Like for example, 354C of the IPC, which speaks about voyeurism. We have section 66E of IT Act, which speaks about violation of privacy. So both these sections, and also some provisions of the POCSO Act, which speak about sexual non-penetrative sexual assault, and in certain cases penetrative sexual assault. I'll speak about POCSO Act a little later. Let me first address these two sections, that is 66E and also 354C of the IPC. As section 67B of the IT Act speaks about creation, etc., of child pornographic material, it also says that if a child is induced, or if a child is told to show the private parts, and these are stored in the device, or these are published without the consent. Generally the child does not have the legal power to give any consent, but if the particular content is published, then it may touch on the concept of revenge porn, and section 67B can be used. However, the element of revenge has to be proved, but generally it is seen that if such contents have been published or has been published, then it is section 67B which can generally be used. The otherwise section 354 C especially, which speaks about voyeurism, which is a little bit more broader in this, and which can be used especially for young girls and also women. And this also speaks about taking the picture with consent, but section 354 C actually prohibits disseminating these pictures or circulating these pictures without the consent of the child. So these are the, or the women especially, these are the basic provisions we use for booking the offenders, or for creating awareness amongst the teens, also amongst the parents. So I would love to hear from you parents, because I myself also am a mother, and I'm very much concerned about my child's usage of internet. So yes, I'm willing to hear or see your questions so that I can have a live discussion. So let the questions come. So I would again carry on my discussions on how the child, first of all we need to see that how the child gets victim of of cyberbullying. Because I have seen some parents were actually taking up these kinds of questions, that how the child can become the victim of cyberbullying. First of all, we need to understand that bullying and stalking, bullying and pornography, bullying and hacking, they are not the same. Many times parents do have, or even general individuals also, they do have the idea that bullying, hacking, bullying, stalking, etc. Um, yeah, sure, I can. Okay, I'm not getting to see the questions. So if I can see the questions. So as let me get the questions. Unfortunately, I'm not getting to see the questions. If I can get the see the questions again. So let me also say that when bullying, like when a child is being, targeted by his or her peers, or the friends, or any other persons, then and the person is using very harsh words, then we generally call it bullying. So we don't have any focused law on bullying, but at the same time, you can see that bullying can be like, criminal intimidation is there, or depending upon the results of the bullying also, laws can be used. So if I can see the questions on the screen, it will be better, because somehow I'm not getting connected with the circle. I think there's some little bit technical problem. So if I can get to see the questions on the screen, or if I can get to see the questions. Okay, so I think there was a little bit technical problem in getting connected again. So thank you again for joining back with me. The other question that I do get to see, as I was speaking about, sharing of the pictures, and how safe your children would be on internet. Um, if again I'm telling that if you have sensitized your child, or if you know that your child is matured enough, and now how will you know that your child is matured enough to go online? See, there are several pockets other than the social media also. There are several pockets, for example, downloading certain study materials, or downloading certain questions, or for example like questions for the board exams, or for sample questions. It can happen that the child can go to some unknown or unwanted websites. So what happens, the IP address, etc., that can be collected by that particular website. And also, if the child is going online with his or her this names, etc., then that can also be like, it can track back, and it can also data mine and get back to the child. So it is always safe that the child goes online, sorry, by knowing certain like precautionary measures, like if especially in Facebook, on Facebook especially, she or he should not make friends with strangers, and she or he should always see the album is only for very selected close people. And also, if possible, I'm actually I also worry about this, because if the parents are too much picking on the child, then the child will become more secretive. So try to be friends with your child offline, so that the child actually also discusses with you any problems that he or she faces. um, the other sort of questions that I did get to see since quite a lot of time, is that regarding cyber stalking also, and regarding the safety of children, especially on WhatsApp, especially or any other chatting, SMS, this kinds of apps. Let me tell you that I have actually found out there are several children who misuse these kinds of chatting apps. For example, Snapchat. I can give you some examples, because I have seen it in my own experience. Children actually take up pictures, or children capture the pictures, and then they try to morph it according to their own wishes, and they try to circulate this. No, now many children would not be knowing that even that is also a kind of offense, which is recognized by the IT Act, as well as by the IPC also, because they are actually, this will be falling loosely on section 43, which will be like unauthorized access, or modifying certain kinds of data, because many a times they try to download the pictures from the WhatsApp or from the Snapchat profiles or many other profiles, and then they try to change the pictures according to their own wish. So many children would not be also knowing that this also yes. Yeah, so yeah, I'll explain about the laws also right now. As I was speaking just a couple of minutes also before, we have to see both IT Act, and also we have to see POCSO Act, and in certain cases IPC also, because IPC is the mother criminal law in India, and from that many other criminal laws have actually been created. So IT Act, Information Technology Act, recognizes certain offenses, as I just now discussed. Amongst them, especially for children, it recognizes creating, sponsoring, production, etc., or disseminating, etc., that is spreading, etc., of any content which actually shows child pornographic contents. Okay, and the other thing is that how these child pornographic contents can be created. For example, the child can actually be induced, or the child can actually be allured to enter into any chat with some unknown persons, and then the unknown person can actually, it is called child grooming, for the unethical purposes, especially for pornographic purposes. So this is also recognized under the IT Act. Section 67B recognizes it, and also POCSO Act, especially section 11 and 12 recognizes it. We can take to prevent cyberbullying, harassment. Yes, yes. um, the steps that you can take, especially, first of all, sensitize your own child. Cyberbullying can happen for different reasons, and again I'm telling, bullying, hacking, bullying, stalking, bullying, creation of the pornographic profiles are not the same. Bullying is a different aspect of harassment, and all other criminal activities like creation of the pornographic purposes, stalking, etc., they are different. Bullying is actually, first of all, we need to understand, throwing some harsh comments, or passing some harsh comments. Bullying is again different from trolling. But bullying is definitely very much like traumatic, especially when the bullying is coming from known persons, or peers, or friends within the group, or even unknown persons. So if a child is coming online, we have to tell the child that first of all, try to select friends. Even if that friend is known to that person in the classroom, try to select friends whom the person will be trusting, that is, the child will be trusting. It may happen that close friends, they may also start fighting, they may also start bullying each other. So once this bullying starts, the receiver must stop at one point of time. What to do if my little one's pictures are used? Yes, that is also I'm coming. Let me finish this. So at one point of time, the receiver, at no, I would not say at one point of time, the receiver should not actually reply to any sort of bullying comment. Immediately block the bully and do not reply, but before blocking, take a screen shot, and so that you have an evidence for this. And thereafter, do not try to contact the bully for threatening. This is one of the steps that we have to take to prevent, further victimization of bullying. And thereafter, obviously, we do not have any focused law, but if depending upon the content of the bullying words, provisions can be taken. But I do understand that the parents of the child would not like, to go or to take the case to the police stations or to the JJB, or to the child welfare committees. But it is very much important that the parents do not get involved when the child is being bullied. Parents do not get involved in the sense, do not try to bully that child, counter bully that child from your account. That will be like, very much risky, because that child who is bullying now can take you to the court, or now can take you to the police. So it is always better, if the child is being bullied, talk to that victim child. That can be your child, that can be somebody else's child also, and just tell him or her that, she has not done anything wrong, but the person who is bullying has done something wrong. So here comes the question of, ventilation and validation. We should support the victim. And now, the second question that I got to see, that if the little one's photograph has been taken by the stalker, yes, we do have laws for that. First of all, the website from where it has been like taken, or the profile from where you have that particular picture has been taken, that particular profile which has actually used this picture, that has to be reported to the website, because it will also be coming under the copyright law, which the particular website will be operating on. And the second thing is that, regarding the criminal responsibility, if the stalker has stolen the picture of the child, then, and for what purpose, if it is for criminal intimidation, or if it is for blackmailing of the child, or if it is for blackmailing of the parents, then definitely there are certain laws, like, criminal intimidation can be used. For example, photo stealing, and if that photo is being used for creating of some fake profiles, again, IT Act can be used. Section 66 series is there, that can be also used for different results of that stealing of the photo. So yes, definitely. But I would rather suggest that, if you have seen that any person is stalking you with the use of the photograph, definitely section 354 D would be used. Along with that, because the child's privacy is also very important, definitely any of the IT Act provisions coming from the section 66B to 66D, depending upon what sort of photograph has been taken, and what sort of photograph is now being created, or the contents or the text that is being created, definitely the police can book the offender. But apart from that also, I would rather say that, especially, I am getting to see, because of this 10 years challenge, hashtag 10 years challenge, many women are posting their pictures with their children. I would rather say, stop using your child's photograph. If you want to go for this 10 years challenge, give your own photograph, but do not use your child's photograph for this, because you don't know how your friends, or their friends, they're going to use this photograph. And obviously, within these 10 years, our children have also grown. So the photographs that were actually taken by us at that time, our child would have not given consent, because she was not, or he was not matured enough. After 10 years, the child is pretty matured enough to understand whether that photograph is good or bad. So in a way, you are also violating his or her privacy. So as parents, I think, it is also our responsibility to restrict or limit, publishing the picture of the child to those persons, or to those groups where you don't trust. Yes, like, you can definitely use the child's photograph, but see that the angle from where the child's photograph has been taken, it does not violate the child's privacy. Obviously, I do understand even the face itself, if it is used in a different way, definitely it can violate the, it can be misused, or it can be violating the child's privacy. But again, yes, yes. So, but again, because the child's body parts can be shown, so definitely this is going to be very risky for the child. And again, I would suggest that, if this 10 years challenge is taken by your child, who had been, say, for example, 6 or 5 years of age, and he or she has come to the website to take up that 10 years challenge to put his or her own photograph, it is better that you sensitize the child about the criminal offenses that can be done, or the privacy infringements that can be done by the perpetrators. Most of the times I have seen that in on Instagram, children put up their pictures definitely, to get some kinds of like thumbs up, likes, etc. This is really ego boosting. But at the same time, the children as well as their parents must also be understand that the appreciation should come from home and should come from the people whom the child trusts. If, say for example, a child is getting suddenly on Instagram, um, yes, I'm coming. Yeah, blocking of the website apps also I'm coming for that. So suddenly if you get to see that there are like huge followers on Instagram, it is actually risky, because we all want to become famous, but not at the cost of our own security. So there are certain people who would like to follow us, but just to get some negative content, or just to get some content which can be used in a negative way. So it is better that the child is sensitized that to whom to allow as a follower, to whom to block as a follower. Don't allow everybody to be your follower. That is the biggest security trick that we generally see. Now coming to the question of blocking of certain apps, yes, I do prefer blocking of certain apps, especially if you are using it on the mobile or if you are using it on the tablets. First of all, I would rather say go and check your Google Play Store. There are different kinds of games, online games, which without our consent our children generally use. So it is always better that we should have some kinds of restrictions on letting the children use certain apps, especially the mobile device itself. And also regarding certain kinds of like blocking can be of two types. One is that you are using the child lock, and so that the child is not going for using these things. The second is that you are actually blocking the app. So it is better that you know about what sort of what sort of apps can be blocked, and if it is really useful for you, then do not let your child use that device. I also got to see this thing, like while I was speaking, this particular question came up, I think, about the cyber crimes. If it can be again posted again so that I can read it again. It just went off. As I was talking about, like one particular, a person asked me about blocking of the apps, and how to keep a safe usage of the online space. Many times I do get to see that the children, without telling their parents, have also downloaded certain apps. And when the parent actually takes the phone, for their office use, yes, laws that are there for cyber crimes and how we can make. Okay, fine. So as I was telling, there are these laws for cyber crimes, IT Act, especially Chapter 11 and Chapter 9. They elaborately discuss about laws for cybercrime. Chapter 11 is basically regarding the civil punishments, where we do get to see less imprisonment and more fine. Chapter 11, Chapter 9 deals with civil crimes. Chapter 11 is totally on criminal side. So here we get to see more punishment, that is imprisonment and also fine. Now, Section 43 of Chapter 9 of the IT Act, it deals with unauthorized access, etc., or contamination of the computer, etc., or unauthorized access to the data, blocking of the data, etc. And the same thing is reflected again in Section 65 and 66 of the IT Act, which speak about offenses related to the computer. Now, if we see Section 43, it has got a huge, like subsections are very, very broad, which speak right from what is hacking. Um, if banned games are available online, who is responsible for this? Definitely the app creator. And if this is like, yeah, I do understand that if it is you're talking about Blue Whale, or if you're talking about PUBG, or you're talking also about this Momo and all these things, we need to understand that these are actually these are not apps. These are actually the game creators are there. So if they're still being shown, or if you're getting to see that some children are again and again playing, this is again in context with the cyber laws that I am telling. It is the responsibility of the website. But and we do have that comes under chapter 11 of the IT Act, Section 79, parts of Section 79 deals with the responsibility of the websites. It is very important for everybody to understand what is the responsibility of the website and when they can actually get some excuse to not to perform what we are expecting them to perform. Now, for any sort of dangerous games, for any sort of risky behavior online, they also give certain kinds of options to report. If they do not take these reports seriously, that means, for example, the Blue Whale games or the Momo games, etc. If these are coming on a particular website and you are going on, yeah, yeah, if you're going on publishing, or if you're going on trying to opt for these things and they are not blocking these things, definitely Section 79 can be applied against the website. And also we should know that it should not mean that the websites are hosted abroad, so the Indian laws cannot do anything. No, it's not like that, because IT Act has got jurisdiction to even try these websites also. And again I'm telling, victims are not aware of it. Now, coming to the other laws, especially for the IT Act, I have spoken. 66 series is there, 67 series is there, and thereafter Section 79 is there, 72 series are there, which also touch upon the privacy. POCSO Act, especially when we are talking about the child online child safety, POCSO Act is very much used for all these offenses. So definitely we can use all these provisions, especially Section 13, 14 speak about creation of the child pornographic materials. Also, we need to understand that if we get to see any material or content which is showing a child in a very objectionable way, it is our responsibility as the civil society members to immediately report that and not to circulate that through WhatsApp or through any sort of app. It is directly to be reported to the police. And also, if the police is not responding, to the child welfare committee, to the juvenile justice board, whichever authority is nearby to your place, and the particular authority, just go and report it, even to the website, and also to NGOs, because we can also help you. So I think this information is definitely helpful for those persons who are actually disturbed by getting to see many content which are child pornographic related or which are similar to child pornography. So any other questions I can also expect? Okay, so I'll just end this session. Obviously, it had been a very nice moment also for me to have this online discussion. I would end this session with saying this thing that okay, so I can end this session by saying that if any parent gets to see that the child is victimized, do not step into the shoes of the perpetrator. Do not try to counter bully. Do not try to counter hack that particular profile which is affecting or which is doing this kinds of harassment to the child. Try to report it to the police. Do not try to take the law in your hand. And also teach your child to report these kinds of offenses to the authorities, because we have 1098, which is the child helpline number. We have police. And be assured that if it is relating to child pornography or anything related to child online safety, total confidence, I mean, it is actually treated as a confidential this thing that matter, and the names of the child, the parents, the schools, the residential area is not supposed to be published. So be rest assured that all sorts of privacy would be given to the reporter of that particular harassment of or crime. So all the best. Wish you a very good year ahead, and also safe surfing. Thank you so much.